5 seconds to go. Start. As the case involves a substantial question of law, this court has taken it up for further consideration. The writ petition before the Delhi High Court shall stand transferred to this court. The significant issue which comes up for determination in this appeal turns on the interpretation of Rule 3B of the MTP rules. Dr. Amit Mishra, learned counsel appearing on behalf of the appellant, made the following submissions. The appellant was an unmarried woman whose partner had refused to marry her. She did not wish to continue the pregnancy and have the child out of wedlock as she lacked the financial resources to do so. She was not employed and her parents were farmers. She was also not mentally prepared to raise a child by herself. If she was compelled to do so, it would cause grave injury to her physical and mental health. The appellant was not prepared to face the social stigma surrounding unwed mothers, and Section 32B of the MTP Act and Rule 3B of the MTP rules are arbitrary and discriminatory because they exclude unmarried women from their ambit. They discriminate against women on the ground of marital status in violation of Article 14 of the Constitution. Miss Aishwarya Bhati, learned senior counsel and additional Solicitor General, has ably assisted this court in the interpretation of Section 3.2 of the MTP Act and Rule 3BC of the MTP rules. She made the following submissions in support of the argument that Rule 3BC extends to unmarried or single women who are in long-term relationships. The interpretation of legislation must be guided by the text and context of a statute as well as the object it seeks to achieve. The statement of objects and reasons of a statute must also guide its interpretation. Modern legislations ought to be read in view of the evolution of society from the time of enactment. The literal construction of beneficial legislations must be avoided and they ought to be given a purposive interpretation. A subordinate legislation should give effect to the statute it is enacted under. If two constructions are possible, the interpretation in consonance with the statutory scheme ought to be adopted. The term change of marital status in Rule 3BC ought to be interpreted as change in the status of a relationship to include unmarried or single women as well as women who are not divorced but are separated or have been deserted. Live-in relationships are equivalent to marital relationships because in both types of relationships the woman is entitled to maintenance. Further, the children born out of such a relationship are vested with the right of succession. Various national legislations, including the MTP Act, do not make a distinction between married women and unmarried or single women, and women enjoy the right to bodily integrity and autonomy as well as reproductive rights. They are entitled to exercise decisional autonomy. Before we embark upon a discussion on the law, and its application, it must be mentioned that we use the term women in this judgment as including persons other than cisgender women who may require access to safe medical termination of their pregnancies. Stop.